everybody. Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts on this Monday, exclusively here on Fox Local, as well as our YouTube page. We were treated to a spectacular sight across the state of Wisconsin last night.
Yeah, we had a beautiful weekend. We kind of confined the rain to the beginning of Saturday.
Yes.
And we'll circle back to that in a bit with Chief Meteorologist Tom Wachs. And then just beautiful nights, too. Last night, of course, topped them all. Look at this. The northern lights visible across Wisconsin Sunday evening. Some incredible photos sent in from our viewers. The forecast for tonight, not quite as favorable for the aurora to be seen in southern Wisconsin. The sky conditions will be fine, but the actual aurora isn't going to be quite as active, but it is favorable in maybe northern parts of the state. So if you have friends or family, or maybe you're watching us on Fox Local from northern Wisconsin, you might have a shot at seeing that again tonight. This time of year, just because of the way the planet is moving around the sun, it's a little bit more active around the solstice and the equinox. So that's good news. Last night, I mean, I'd heard talk about it, but last night I feel like it was one of the best we've seen.
I agree. Since almost last year, it was around this time last year, I believe maybe last October, where we were treated to a spectacular sight as well. This one for me was almost a little bit of surprise because there wasn't a huge, this wasn't one of the biggest solar storms.
Yeah, and there wasn't as much of a heads up, right? The sun activity wasn't as advertised as far out in advance as it sometimes is, but it's definitely delivered. It was, under-promised and over-delivered.
Exactly.
And that, I think, is a happy surprise. Everybody's Instagram feed is absolutely delightful today, so we're happy about that. We're also sort of happy about this, at least where this is headed. Federal money for victims of the hardest hit counties for the flooding recently in Wisconsin. That is finally coming. President Trump unlocked it by declaring a major disaster. Jason Calvi explains why, if you're looking for some of that money, you need to first file an insurance claim.
President Trump approves nearly $30 million for individual Wisconsin flood victims in 3 counties, Milwaukee, Washington, and Waukesha.
This was what we were all looking for. It's going to be very impactful.
To help after floods caved in homes and trashed people's treasures.
We lost a lot of memories, everything, a lot of memories that we can't bring back. But we can start making more memories and move on from this if we could just get a little help.
Help is now on the way, and to apply for a piece of it, you have to have damage not covered by insurance. That means the feds want you to file an insurance claim and hold on to that denial letter. FEMA will ask for it. FEMA says the help could cover home repairs, temporary housing, damaged HVAC, car repairs, moving expenses, furniture, and appliances.
Can people expect that they're going to get 100% of their damages covered?
No, it's almost never the case.
As far as how much you could get, it's a complicated formula. The max for homes is roughly $43,000. The Government Accountability Office reports the average FEMA help for those without flood insurance is about $3,000.
We hope that people get the assistance that they need, or this gets them one step closer to recovery.
Governor Evers requested the president declare the disaster. The joint FEMA state survey of damage confirmed at least $33 million in damage to homes. That's 51 homes destroyed and 1,500 severely damaged.
This is a real disaster.
This emergency declaration and aid is for individuals, but it's not for local governments, the state, the county, the cities. Like the damage you're seeing here in Menominee Falls with this road caved in. The governor did ask the president to declare a disaster for public assistance for damage like this. We're still waiting for an answer on that. In Menominee Falls, Jason Calvi, Fox 6 News.
Thanks, Jason. If you need help, you can apply over the phone. You can also do it online. We've placed that information on this story, on Jason's story, on the Fox Local app. You can access it there. FEMA will also be setting up disaster resources and centers for that to help you out.
And we did deal with heavy rain in some spots over the weekend. If you think back to Friday night as well as Saturday morning, especially areas west near Madison, they did deal with a little bit of flash flooding. Thankfully, nothing to the extent of what we dealt with back in August. But Chief Meteorologist Tom Wachs has more details on what happened.
Well, it was a noisy start to the weekend for some. Take a look overnight, Friday night into Saturday morning. We had a lot of rain in spots and a lot of lightning and thunder. Again, you see all of that rain and thunder making its way through the area. Quite a few lightning strikes with this as well. Again, this was during the overnight hours early on Saturday morning, with the heaviest of the rain from Portage stretching all the way to about Union Grove and lighter rains farther to the east. So I'll let this play one more time. And again, you can really see just that heavy batch of rain that made its way on through. In terms of radar estimates, take a look. You can really see here, this is where the radar is estimating how much rain fell. And you can see kind of the bullseye here right over Portage. And that's where they had over 3 inches of rain and some flooding early in the morning on Saturday as a result. But take a look. I mean, you go as far as Union Grove with over 1.5 inches of rain out of this system, and then lesser amounts farther to the east from Sheboygan stretching down to Milwaukee. So that's where we had the heaviest rainfall early on Saturday morning. Let's take a closer look here. I mean, even McGuanago, over 2 inches of rain for you. Dousman at 2 inches. Waterloo, 1.78. Potter Lake, 1.77. And I mentioned Union Grove at over 1.5 inches. So this was some beneficial rain, certainly for some. But what about officially in Milwaukee? Well, officially at the airport, it was 0.62. Isn't that wild to think about that it wasn't too far away from Mitchell, where we had 1.5 inches to over 2 inches of rain out of this system. So in terms of the official record keeping here, which again is at Milwaukee Mitchell International, we are at just under 0.7 of an inch. So we are below average for the month, and we are still well above average for the year. So this has certainly helped matters. But again, just keep in mind when we show the calendars like this, it can be different depending on your location. And again, Union Grove, McGuanago, these areas, Big Bend had about 1 inch more than Mitchell did. So keep that in mind as we continue to go through the month. But certainly some beneficial rains for some Friday night into Saturday morning. Now we have an extended period of dry weather that continues as we go throughout the week.
It's been very spotty, it feels like, over the last month. Obviously, the big rain in August, not much over the last couple of weeks, as you just heard Tom say, and this one clearly the biggest of the month so far.
Yeah, you saw it on the rainfall calendar there, and as Tom was saying, some spots a little more than the 0.62 at Mitchell International, but even that was an outlier so far, and for the days ahead as well. It looks like another dry stretch here. But if you want crazy weather, I would advise Florida. It's always a go-to, right?
And they've had a stationary front near them, so they've dealt with a lot over the last couple of weeks. But as we just talked about, other areas in the U.S. Recently hit by storms, including South Florida. Rain and thunderstorms last week, and this post on social shows just how fast things can change in the Sunshine States. That's pretty incredible, going from all of that heavy rain, low visibility, to sunshine.
Wow.
So the footage from Miami was shot around 12:30, where you can see blue skies in that previous picture, and then about an hour later, gray and storming with lightning striking.
Looks like 2 different cities entirely. Oh, look at the lightning strike. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Some incredible video there.
And how about this? Speaking of incredible video, caught on camera, this is just, I mean, picturesque, to say the least. Not that that's something we ever want to say about tornadoes, but a tornado touched down in parts of Utah over the weekend. The National Weather Service confirms it was on the ground for several minutes, and unfortunately, it did damage at least 3 homes. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but an unknown number of pets are missing from the area. Police say that those impacted are being helped by a local charity.
Yeah, fascinating stuff there for sure. Yeah. Of course, Navajo territory there as well. Tornado touching down Saturday afternoon, and the Navajo Nation Police Department confirming the sighting. Oh, there's the damage right there on the nation's land in Utah near San Juan. They said it was on the ground several minutes, and that it damaged at least 3 homes. There are no reports of injury so far. Utah has a dry climate, and the terrain there generally makes the region not so favorable when it comes to tornado development. They're not exactly in Tornado Alley now, are they? But they do happen, as they do in many other places. Wow. And we really feel for the folks out there in the Navajo Nation as well. For sure. Now let's switch over to Sausalito. So we're going to go from the dry pictures that you were just seeing there. Sausalito is just fun to say, and the spelling of it doesn't in any way tell you that it's Sausalito, but it's Sausalito, Sausalito. But it's a serious story, but it's, you know, there's a long time frame here. They're grappling with the reality of rising waters in the bay there. So city consultants warn that sea levels have already risen 5 inches since 1975. Wow. So in about 50 years, they've gone up 5 inches. They could climb nearly 10 more in the next 25 by the near 2100 levels, maybe 3 feet higher, with storm surges exceeding 6 feet, according to the Marin IJ. The city is considering options like seawalls and floating barriers, as well as the possibility of raising roads, raising the piers, raising the structures there. A draft plan is open for public comment there through October 7th before it heads to their city council this fall. That's a rapid rise, and you can see how it kind of accelerates too, right? 5 inches over the last 50 years, and then potentially 3 feet in the next 50 or so years. And we already have cities that have to deal with this, like New Orleans has to pump everything out because it's technically below sea level. Maybe this is the new civil engineering or industrial engineering of the future.
Yeah, it's very real, and it's not just one spot, as you mentioned. There are multiple locations. Pretty much if you're on a coast, this is something that will need to be dealt with at some point. Not saying in 25 years, but it's a reality, to say the very least.
Venice is beautiful. I don't know that we want to repeat it. Yes. It's a hard thing to maintain. Yeah, let's keep it a one and done on that one. All right.
Let's talk weather,
yeah,
shall we?
And more weather, right? Let's go regional this time, because we've got kind of a lack of weather and then a couple other things going on. That's the busiest lack of weather map I've ever seen.
Yeah, right. I probably could have cleaned this.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, we might run out of letters in the little kit there, the map making kit.
All it needs are H's and L's,
right?
When it comes to a weather map. We've got a handful of storm systems out towards the west. We've got a warm front in our vicinity, and then still a lot of quiet weather overall for a good chunk of the Great Lakes region as well as the East Coast. It's really the Mid-Atlantic that's dealing with some showers, some thunderstorms, and even Florida is looking a whole lot better right now than what it's dealt with over the past couple of weeks. More fascinating as we zoom in a little bit more on our area. Most of Wisconsin is dry. We just have these few different areas of showers and thunderstorms tracking up towards the north too, which is pretty incredible. More activity across North Dakota, and then even more out towards the west. In fact, some of these higher elevations seeing more of that wintry mix or even snow at this point in time. And then going eastward, you can see the Mid-Atlantic once again dealing with really some soaking rain right along the coast there. There is the possibility going forward today that those areas in particular deal with heavy pockets of rain from time to time. In fact, this is actually updated from the Weather Prediction Center. Now it looks like a slight risk for some flooding and some heavy rainfall in these areas through the remainder of today. Now, bringing you back closer to home, there's a lot more activity out towards the west than what this is showing, and that's where it'll stay throughout your Monday. So chance for some showers and storms in western Wisconsin throughout the remainder of your Monday, as well as eastern Minnesota and parts of Iowa. But those of us eastward, we're not even expecting to see much in the way of cloud cover from that. It's expected to stay way out towards the west. So for most of us, we're looking at a quiet Monday. Same with Tuesday, a bit unsettled at times out west into Minnesota and Iowa, but most of the state of Wisconsin, as well as, or especially eastern parts of the state, looking quiet. We're going to fast forward through Wednesday too. There could be more showers and thunderstorms, this time across northern Wisconsin, but still out towards the west. You can see the areas that are more favorable for more of this instability in the coming days. In eastern Wisconsin, specifically the Milwaukee area, we may not actually see another chance for rain until we start the weekend at this point. Now, going forward, temperature-wise, I think that's more so the biggest story here into the rest of the week. We're looking at high temperatures across much of the central U.S. and especially down towards the south in the 80s and 90s. And that goes for those of us locally in Wisconsin, too. A good chunk of Wisconsin, potentially even up north into Rhinelander, could see high temperatures in the 80s today. That's pretty high or pretty warm compared to average for this time of year. We will have a lake breeze, though, so slightly cooler along some of our lakeshore communities. That being said, all of this warmth is here to stay through the week. And I think we'll be slightly cooler lakeside with maybe some upper 70s to around 80 a few of these days. But it just goes to show we have that summer-like feel that's going to be with us through at least Friday. You'll notice we start to drop a little bit, but even those upper 70s well above where we should be this time of year. Saturday we'll have the chance for a few rain showers, so that may end up keeping temperatures even a little bit lower. Now that we're into meteorological fall, remember our average highs, they are beginning to drop. In late August, early September, we were talking about how below average we were. That's when the average was still around 80 or in the upper 70s. Now that we're about midway through the month of September, mid 70s is more normal for this time of year. So as we start to see a chance for 80s or even upper 70s, we're going from well below to a little bit above where we should be. And you can tell, by the time we end September, average highs will be in the upper 60s. And notice how they drop quite a bit more throughout the month of October as well as the month of November. Technically speaking, though, we do still see 80s during the month of September specifically, but our average last 80 now October 1st, so it's not even out of the question to still see some warmth at times throughout October. So some of this warmer air is still, we'll say, fairly normal for this time of year. But expect above average temperatures and even a little bit of humidity to stick around this week. So not much in the way of rain, but the warmth is going to stick around for a little bit longer.
There you go. But if you want your house to stay a little cooler, according to researchers, paint it white. Yeah, it may actually help fight future heat waves. An architectural design professor for the University of Westminster, says the adjustment is needed to help prepare for the impacts of climate change, of course. So she says the white paint will help reflect the heat, which we know that's the truth. We know that from wearing white clothing, right? And it keeps the houses cooler, and that kind of very small difference then compounded over all of the different houses out there as the weather gets hotter. She says that even that little difference, that the roof can be painted white as well, that can help lower indoor temperatures by several degrees.
Whatever helps, really.
If I don't have to run my AC as much, I'll be a happy camper for sure.
Me too.
And then can we flip it around and have the shingles go black for the winter to attract the heat?
That would be a good creation.
Right?
So one that just flips, a shingle that flips.
Well, those kids have the shirts with the
the
sequins.
We're onto something now.
Your roof. What are you doing up on your roof, Rob?
We're just flipping the tiles.
Flipping the tile.
Each and every tile you're flipping. It'll take you a full year to do it, but worth it.
I'm cheap enough to do it. All right, when we get back, we're going to go to Alaska again. Lisa's got the latest on the permafrost.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts on this Monday. Well, with electric vehicles becoming more popular, will charging stations be popping up across Milwaukee? This is interesting. Fox 6's Stephanie Quirk has more.
electric vehicle charging stations.
I'm an EV driver. I like my EV, but there's a fairness question.
The question Milwaukee County Supervisor Sheldon Wasserman is asking:
do somebody really want to park here for 6 to 8 hours? Because that's all we're going to get here is level 2 stations.
And does the community want to see EV chargers in Veterans Park? Well, the city of Milwaukee does.
They already selected where they wanted to go, what they wanted to do, how much they want to spend.
The Common Council actually passed the plan roughly 2 months ago. It would use $200,000 of federal funding and place EV chargers in this lot at Veterans Park.
$200,000 we're spending is only for installation and for 5 years. After the 5 years, nobody knows what's going to happen with them.
But that plan isn't set in stone.
The other thing you're worried about is who's patrolling the area? What about safety issues? And this is an isolated spot, and especially when in fall and winter, when the weather gets bad, people don't want to come and park in a parking lot that's completely empty, unattended.
The County Parks and Culture Committee is set to vote on the idea at its upcoming meeting.
I'm all for EVs. I drive one. I believe in them. I think we should have more stations available. I just don't see charging stations right here, let alone it's not going to be protected.
That said, Wasserman says he wants to hear what the community thinks on the matter.
Put out my newsletter goes out and I ask for help. Within, I think it's by 4 o'clock, I had 103 responses. And people are they feel very strongly about this.
Opinions that he says will help form his.
Very interesting. This has been in talks, I think, for some time. So I think in a way it'll be very beneficial. So we'll just wait and see and keep you updated on what the end product is.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot more coming up after the break, again, including talking about some permafrost. And what that is, do we see it here? Well, we'll have more on that coming up. Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We've been covering a lot of topics today, and you've been talking about fall, temperatures dropping, and temperatures dropping starts to get you in the feel for winter, which we know is not going to be too far ahead. And when I was in Alaska, we got to talk about winter temperatures in terms of permafrost. Now, that is ground that remains frozen for at least 2 consecutive years, and believe it or not, about 85% of Alaska is on permafrost or has frozen ground. So let's take a look at this. Now, this picture was actually taken by the DNR because they are doing some studies on permafrost because it is changing. What we're going to continue to watch about that is permafrost actually significantly influences Alaska's ecosystems and hydrology by trapping water. But with rising global temperatures, permafrost is actually thawing, and that's leading to a lot of damage. When it does, we see things like unstable grounds, landslides, coastal erosion, and the release of large amounts of stored carbon in the form of carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere, and that can further warm it. So, as part of a 2022-2026 plan with the DNR, the USGS is also trying to advance our understanding of the process in controlling permafrost dynamics and the impacts on the ecosystems, infrastructures, and climate feedback. Among those topics, Alaska does have the highest moose population. This was something I got to see, was the permafrost grounds up there. And the moose actually, because there's about 175,000 of them, they like to sit on the permafrost grounds at times because they are not really good at regulating their body temperatures. That creates a lot of stress for them. So sometimes the moose actually use it to cool down. Now, they also need to be in shaded areas, kept away from the heat, so they need forests around to survive. And permafrost actually can be harmful to them if they're in it for long periods of time.
Really?
But Steph, it was really cool because they have these fences all around the interstates, the permafrost areas, and kind of like when you go into the Wisconsin State Fair, they have the rotating little metal bars. They have these metal rotating gates for the moose to go through. Now, do they go through them? You know, we're working on that process.
I was
Not
gonna
sure
say.
how smart they are, but they are giving them alternative ways to go into these grounds to be able to cool off. And also they have a lot of gates up so the moose actually don't run into traffic and don't hit your car. So very interesting, but the permafrost is going to be a big thing because it's not only in Alaska, but there's other areas across the world that have it. And of course, we know with greenhouse gases and stuff, the release of all that carbon dioxide and methane, it'll be interesting what it will do for the future years to come.
You'd have to think too that like the other environment, we don't have time anymore, but the other environmental impacts from some of that being released.
A lot.
Sparking the questions I have in my brain. But thank you, Lisa, for all of that, and thank you to all of you for sticking with us on this Monday. We'll see you tomorrow at noon.
Thank you.